of you holding it.
All right, we'll let the picture settle down.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. It totally goes all fuzzy.
The things you learn over time, right?
Pardon?
The things you learn over time.
Yeah, exactly.
And then remembering to hit record on the episode. That's a good one.
That is a good one. That's hilarious, actually. Yeah, that's something that's probably worthwhile.
Then the other good one is you have to have your volume at about 3/4 and not at full, otherwise you get a bunch of feedback.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
So why headphones are so good, other than the fact you look then like every influencer on the internet.
I actually hate wearing headphones. I don't like it.
No, me neither. I'm only doing it because I'm in public.
Okay, cool. Let's just get on with it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome to Tea with Mike, episode number 26. With me today is Jonathan Strome. Today's tea fact of the day is most expensive tea bag has 280 diamonds on it, and it costs about $12,000. And it was actually created for the 75th anniversary of the PG Tips Tea Company, and this comes from justfunfacts.com. So welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Hey, thanks for having me. How are you doing today? Drinking tea, I see, so you gotta be good.
Gotta keep it consistent. That's what makes me happy.
Glad to hear. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad our schedules finally matched up.
Right? Yeah, it can take a while sometimes. My apologies.
No, it's all good. It shows that you're winning in life because you're doing stuff.
I like to keep busy.
Good. So, Jonathan, let's start with what's your favorite type of tea, man?
My favorite type of tea, I think this is a hard question because my favorite type of tea would be the tea I consume, let's just say, always is in something else, like a chai tea latte. I love lattes, so therefore chai tea could be a favorite because it's good in a latte. If it's good in a latte, then awesome. That's my favorite kind of tea. Other than that, to be honest, plain tea, typically I want like something citrusy, like lemon tea. Just really, yeah. I like the smell of a lot of teas, but not the taste of a lot of teas.
Nice, yeah. So yeah, I'm a fan of the strong black, English Yorkshire tea. I don't put very much milk on it, which is why my teeth look horrific because of what I'm drinking. But that's a con for drinking lots of tea. I only because they were handing out free samples and I was thirsty. I had a couple of iced tea samples from David's Tea.
Okay.
And I think it was a strawberry flavor and a blackcurrant flavor. So I think I may explore some more iced tea because I actually really do like blackcurrants and strawberries. It's
interesting.
Kind of a fresh drink.
Yeah. Every time I go to someone's house and they offer me tea, and then I say sure, and then they open up their cupboard and tea falls out of the cupboard onto the counter because they have so much. I know I'm in trouble. I'm now I have to pick. Surprise me. No, that's no fun. No, do you want to know what's not fun? This moment right now, because I am not a tea drinker. I'm overwhelmed.
Nice. So I actually have the reverse problems on the odd occasion I go to people's house if they already know I'm from England. So they get really excited and they're like, oh, we have a British person in the house. Do you want some tea? Sure, I'll see what you got. And then what falls out of the cupboard is disappointing.
And you're like,
oh yes, not that Earl Grey tea.
It's
all right,
my favorite.
Do you have a nice fresh glass of water?
Yeah. I'm in more of a, virgin tea. No actual tea, just hot water.
Nice. Okay, so can you move into your screen a little more?
Do you not see me in the screen? What do you mean? It looks on my like I'm in the screen.
Oh,
am I cut off on yours?
Oh, it's because my screen that's better. It's because my screen's percentually bigger than yours too.
Fair enough. I'm on mine. It looks like I'm in the right spot. Oops, I just flipped my camera around.
That's good. We got some wonderful tables there. Come on down.
Yeah.
Gives that.
Beautiful black tables in a brick room with windows. I'm at Bower Ponds, so it's a beautiful view, but it's cold and stuff outside today, so not as many people down here.
Nice. All right. So, do you want to tell the Tea with Mike audience in the world, because hopefully this is going to go global one day?
There you go. What am I telling them? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
All about you.
All about me. Well, I was born at a very young age, and I'm going to not bore you with all the details since then. I was born in Red Deer, born and raised in this beautiful city. Actually, I grew up not far away from this park that I'm sitting in now, which is Bower Ponds. And so it's been really cool to grow up in this city, to be part of the community here. And then now as a business owner, I get to pour back into the community. So I, about 4 and a little bit years ago, became self-employed full-time as a business owner. And this business down here, we have the cafe, we have a board game room here that opens up once a week. And then we've got rentals, paddle boats, canoes, kayaks. Let's see. I think you can see them if I turn this way, maybe.
Yeah, you can. Nice to the paddle boats down there.
So we've had that, and I took that over. It was in my family already for about 7 years, and I took it over as managing partner. My dad and brother are still involved, but I am managing partner down here. And then from there, fell in love with it. It was a short-term fix. Didn't plan on doing this forever, but fell in love with doing business. And so within 6 months was like, this is definitely what I was, created to do. It just was so natural and such a good fit. And so it's kind of been a whirlwind from there. But I'll step back before I get into that. And that's my family's all here as well. I've got a younger brother who is a teacher and married to an amazing woman who's also a teacher. And they are just fantastic people. And so I'll talk about them. So Dawson and Rachel. And then my mom lives in Red Deer still. And her name is Donna. And she's also fantastic, an amazing painter and a brilliant intellectual person. And then my dad, who is the hardest working person I've ever met. And I'm not just biased. I didn't say that about my brother or my mom. I love them both. But I wouldn't just say it for the sake. He's one of those guys. He's up at like 4 at work by 4:30 and doesn't finish his day till 6, 7, 8, 10, 11 at night, depending on what's on the go. And so crazy work ethic and an incredible, generous person. And so that's my dad. His name's Gary. And that's my family. Care about them, love them lots. If they're watching this, but no, I love you guys. It's, yeah, so there's that. And I am one of those weird people that as a hobby love business on top of the fact I get to do it every day full time. And so some people like to go home at the end of the day and like play video games or cook, or, they have a hobby they go home and do. I'm at the end of the day and I'm like, oh, I want to learn how to be better at my craft, or I want to invest into a new project that I'm wanting to get started. That doesn't mean I don't have fun in other ways as well, but love community and business and entrepreneurship specifically are kind of my 2 passions. And so being able to do business that builds community is something that I really appreciate and value. Other than that, I mean, there's the less exciting stuff. I've got 2 food trucks, Cheddar Heads, which serves gourmet grilled cheese sandwiches, and The Stash, which is a pulled pork taco and sandwich truck.
Which I went to Western days.
Oh, yeah? What did you have?
I think is it the pulled pork bun? Is that right?
Yeah. We've got a couple that could have been.
Really
was it good? Oh, I'm glad to hear.
I think it was Edward that served me.
Nice. Yes, that
he doesn't know who I am, but I pay attention.
But you know who he is.
Yeah.
We're actually, you'll hear it here first. We haven't announced it anywhere yet, but on Friday we're doing a special. We launched it and tested it at the Taste of Red Deer a couple weeks ago. And we're testing it again at Food Truck Friday on Friday. I know, given, right? At lunchtime. And then we'll have it likely, unless we sell out of it, Saturday morning at the farmer's market in Red Deer as well, to test a brand new sandwich that we hope to become a regular. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So that's exciting. And then I've got a concession called Percy's Concession, which is named after my mother's African gray parrot. And
that's so cool.
Right. It's in the service arena in Red Deer. And so it's just a little bit more of your classic hockey arena food concession. And so we've got that set up there. And then I'm also a partner with other people. So a couple of those are with family that I mentioned. One of them I have by myself. And then I've got a business called Simbra. And so we actually do business development and planning and strategy with entrepreneurs specifically in order to help them move towards their dreams. And so every entrepreneur has an end goal or a big dream that they're hoping to accomplish, some impact they want to have, or a level of business they want to achieve. But often the how to get from here to there, they'll have an idea, but it can be, there's so many steps in the process. And so we actually help entrepreneurs find confidence and clarity in their path forward in order to achieve that success. So we do a lot of that, working with clients, and have a lot of fun. And then random projects. I like to volunteer a lot and am involved in a few different things, whether it be community events or just local community groups. So
and you also, because I know, and you also like taking some photos, don't you, once in a while?
Yeah, it's been a hobby of mine since I was in like grade 8 or 9, I think, is when I bought my first camera. Grade 8, I think it was. I got it for Christmas as a gift, actually, and it kind of just has evolved. Now I do it corporately, so I actually do a little bit on the side. If you have a business and product or service or need some, facility photo, stuff like that, I do some of that. I only take on projects that I think I'll enjoy. I don't take on a lot as my schedule's full, but I love photography, so it's a lot of fun. I do some of our own stuff for our businesses, but then some for others as well.
Nice, man. So we'll just go back a little bit. So how do you really think you fell in love with this whole business entrepreneurship?
How do I think it happened?
Yeah, was it because your family already had a business? So you're like, oh, what are they doing over here? Why don't you see me every day? Or is it is it just because you didn't like school? Let's go back to the roots. That's it.
Why business? So at the time, I was working in a job for a nonprofit organization, and I was traveling all over Alberta, raising money, networking, building relationships in the ministry that they were doing, and loved it. It was a great organization. They did great work. And but while I was there, I would come home and I was always exhausted and tired, which is a good sign. But I didn't have a lot of energy when I'd get home, and I felt like I wasn't able to spend good quality time with my family, with my friends. It was just it was very draining. And so my mom was diagnosed with ALS about 5 years ago. And so this was during the time when I was working for this nonprofit. And so I got this job. I'm working on the road, but my mom was diagnosed with ALS, which only has 80% of people pass away within 2 to 5 years of diagnosis. And so 10% pass away sooner, 10% will live longer. So it's terminal, there's no cure. And so I did not want to step away and be away from family and come home super tired and not maintain that quality time with them. So initially it was kind of like, I don't know that this is a good fit for me right now. So I left there and asked my dad, hey, would you hire me on for in the meantime, even if it's just 6 months, to run Bower Ponds, and until I figure out what I want to do. Maybe I'll want to go back to school, even though I don't like school. You are correct. I'm personally just not a fan. I don't thrive or learn well in a traditional environment. It's not that I don't like school. I'm really glad there's school, doctors, nurses, think chemists, it'd be horrible if engineers didn't have school and they just wung it. We'd be really in a tight spot if that was the case. So I'm grateful for it, but it just was not a place that I thrived. And so where am I going with this? Right. So I had no idea. I was so up in the air. I had worked in tons of different things, from retail, warehousing, marketing, brick and mortar, online businesses. I'd done so much. I actually even did network marketing at one point in time for about 18 months. Yeah, it's like a hidden secret nobody knows about, but it was awesome. Did really well there, but did a lot of things and did well at them. Worked in radio, different stuff. Oh. And yeah, and just hadn't found something that was that was yes, that's the thing. I enjoyed lots of components of it, but it wasn't perfect yet. And so I decided, hey, I want to do this, and I think I can help the family business grow. I think I have some skills that I've got from working that will be helpful, but I didn't think I was going to 6 months in be I love this. I want to do nothing else. But it was so it took no time at all. I knew very quickly that this was exactly what I was supposed to be doing.
That's crazy. And then so So you're just building and building and building, and then so how much like kind of online reading like and all of that world do you kind of do? How did you first hear about Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, and how does that fit in on the journey?
So one of the things that is interesting, because I was not good at school. I was good at school in middle school, actually. I did very well. I finished like grade 8 with like a 97% average. And when I got to high school, I got bored, I think was a big part of it. And I started like raising money for charity. So I actually raised money to drill water wells in Africa with the organization by selling t-shirts. And so my grade 12 year, I like was at concerts and sports games and fundraisers and all sorts of different stuff that we did to raise money to do this.
That's awesome.
And and in that process, I became less and less interested in school and struggled with grades a lot more. It just wasn't my jam. I felt like I was drowning and suffocating when I was at school. But I love learning. So it's like this really weird thing where so many people think that if you love learning, then school's great for you. And if you don't like school in a traditional sense, then you don't like learning. And I found that's not the case at all. So on average, over the course of the last year, for example, I probably spend 30 to 45 minutes per day on average learning. And that would be like intentional learning. I think that this conversation we learn, right? I go for coffee with somebody. I'm always learning. I think no matter who it is that I'm with, there's something I can be learning. So I think you're always learning, but intentional learning. So that means for me, listening to an audiobook, listening to a podcast, watching videos on YouTube of like interviews. And sometimes if it's not even like if I'm a little bit tired and I'm just like, I'm done. I actually even have a subscription to master classes, which they do like video series around random topics, and it's professionals, like world-class leaders teaching you how to do it. So they have one on like poker or one or two, actually, I think they have on poker. They'll have some on like baking and music and theater and filmmaking, all of these things. And so even just for the sake of keeping my brain going and stimulated, I will just watch one of those for half an hour. If I'm driving, I love to have something productive on. Sometimes I listen to music, but most of the time I try and have an audiobook or something on the go because I find it really I love it and I absorb it. And regardless of what you're doing, I think that like in my situation, I am confident that anything I'm listening to can teach me something about my current situation, whether it's a book about business or about personal health and like nutrition and fitness, or whether it's about how to be a better poker player. I just think that reality is that you can learn from so many different people things and find themes and common ground of what makes successful people successful, regardless of what they're successful at.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's really where my as far as education goes, I drowned in those traditional environments, but I love it. And I think it's so crucial. I mean, I'm not the only one saying this, that you hear this everywhere. And I hear it all the time, is that like the most successful people in the world read X amount of books a year, or they, accomplish X amount of learning. And that's super common. And there's people that manage to do it without that. However, it's not near as common. And I think there's something to it. And I actually think it's less about taking things in and more about the attitude of the person who is willing to read a book a week, or who is willing to listen to podcasts and learn. I think that the attitude that I know versus I don't know is a huge shift for success. I think that people that are super successful always identify there's things they don't know and are always pushing in. And often you see when people get to a point where they feel like they've got the curb on knowledge now, and so they're like, oh yeah, I've got this, I can't learn anything more, I'm the best in the world or the best in my space, then often that's actually where they lose, because somebody else that has the right attitude and goes, I don't know, is finding the ways to be better than that person. Yeah. So you got to constantly be learning. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Now, when you're constantly learning, should it be from like a variety of sources, or should you drill and hone in on like a particular individual that you're really aligned with?
So this is also a really interesting topic. Sorry, there's people walking by and they're waving at me, so I was trying not to be rude to them. This is also super fascinating. I think it's easy and common for people, because it's comfortable, to put all your effort and energy into learning from people that think like you. And so you're going to go on and say, find someone. You had mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk before, and go, I really like what Gary has to say. So you're going to consume all of his content, read all of his books, go to every event he speaks at near you. And that's really your main focus. And I think that can be beneficial still to a certain level, but I think you limit your ability to learn and grow rather than jumping into other people that are successful, right? Like for me, learning from people in different industries, doing different jobs with different skill sets, all these different things helps me learn and actually hone things that I already do well. But it also allows me to stretch my perspective. And I think that's really important. I think that open-mindedness is super valuable and important when it comes to growth, and whether in learning, but in business and anything that you want success at. If you just want to be good at family or good at friends and good at some of those really important relational things, you know, that maybe are less materialistic than having a certain level of material success, I think then too, open-mindedness is so important. And so I try and listen to a variety of people. There's definitely people I go back to more often, you know, if I enjoy them or I find them funny, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's people I don't listen to because I don't want to be like them, or there's something that rubs me the wrong way, or I find them hard to listen to. So there's definitely those people as well. But I am a huge advocate for a variety. I think that's really important.
So who do you listen to?
So this is interesting. It changes so often. There's a few staples that I'd say I've consistently listened to over some time. One of those guys is Timothy Ferriss, and Timothy Ferriss interviews a ton of smart people, and he's got some incredible books where he actually takes information he's gathered from some of the best people in the world at anything, and so very much appeals to my variety mindset.
I have Tim Ferriss. I read his one book.
Which one?
You put him
Is it the 4-Hour Workweek? That everyone always has that one. He has that one. People always talk about. He's got a few though. I really like. There's what's it called? Titans something.
I can't see it right now on my shelf, but it's one of the, you're kind of describing it where the interviews a bunch of smart people. And
it's yellow. It's
habits.
I'm blanking on the name too, but I know exactly something about the power of Titans or I don't remember. I have no idea. I could be totally wrong on that.
But I have read it.
It's a great book. So I listen to him, and the thing I like about him is that he's gathering information and perspectives from more than one person, and he's sharing his perspective plus what he's learning from other people. So it gives me insight into things I wouldn't have thought about. So I watched a video of his yesterday morning talking about morning routines and how he has built his morning routine and some of the philosophies that he's attempting to fit in. So he's not just saying, when I set my alarm, I always get out of bed instantly, because that's just an action. But he's talking about why that action would be important. And so if that's the action that you're going to do, or if you're going to do another action that follows the same philosophy, you can create a routine that works for you. And I think too many people just want to copy what somebody is doing rather than actually being self-aware and evaluating what makes sense in your context. And so obviously there's themes, and I think that often the value of a good morning routine is more in the mindset and philosophy and things that it does for you, rather than actually doing the right perfect formula. So Timothy Ferriss is somebody I enjoy and have watched on YouTube. I just finished a book called Extreme Leadership, and it is by I don't remember his name, which is a horrible way to tell you that I listen to him. But he is an ex-Navy SEAL, and he talks about his experience and how the philosophies of the military and how they approach team and what leadership means to them, and all of these things define their success as groups. And so it was awesome. And so I read that, and it was an incredible book. Definitely recommend it. So that's one that I've listened or just finished reading here, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. Fantastic. Gary Vaynerchuk is somebody I listen to a lot. I stumbled upon him 2-ish years ago, maybe 3 now. Oh yeah, probably actually 3 years ago now. And it's funny because when I started listening to him, nobody I knew who he was. And I never saw my friends sharing his content. Right now, I go on Facebook and I've got lots of people that I know that share his videos that are talking about his stuff. So it's pretty neat to see him grow. And the fun thing is that as somebody that saw him earlier on, it actually, you get to see the power of what he's doing, because his biggest model is that everything I'm doing, I will share with you, and you can do the same, right? And just like, and so he doesn't want to try and hold stuff in. He goes, I know that I can execute on what I'm doing and will be able to be successful, even if I tell you my like secrets.
Yeah.
Everybody on the internet wants to tell you their secret to making more money, or their secret to owning multiple businesses, or their secret, blah, blah, blah. And it's this word that captures attention. People are like, I want to know the secret. But it also manipulates people, and it's actually not fair often. And so I like that Gary's just so raw and to just who he is, but also he's not trying to hide or manipulate you to buy into a secret so that you buy this or buy that. He's just, this is what's up. And so I like that about him. So I listen to a lot of his stuff. Trying to think. I mean, Michael Hyatt is great. I've listened to some of his stuff, and really like his approach to business and story, and just the caring about the person and the leader behind an organization and character and some of those things. So I enjoy him as well. I could go on for a while, but those are some that come to mind, kind of just off the top of my head. Yeah.
So you went to New York, right?
Yeah, so I actually did. I got to go to New York here now 2 years ago and meet Gary Vaynerchuk, which was really cool. So I actually met him the first time in Vancouver, which was about 2.5 years ago. And at that point in time, there was a conference going on, and he was speaking at it, and I had never seen him before, and I wanted to. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go down there. So I bought a VIP ticket so that I could sit in the front row. And then I actually got like a special like supper with, there's about 100 of us, and Gary was there, and then a couple others of the speakers from the conference. So you got to like mingle and chat with them, which was really fun. While I hadn't gotten to the event yet, but 2 days before, I got an email about their new product called the 4Ds, which is the Daily Digital Deep Dive. And so they go into detail talking about kind of the current state of marketing, what it looks like to build a business, and communications and strategy in 2018 or 2017 at the time. But just that, and 4D still keeps going, right? You can still sign up and go today. But I got an email and got invited to be part of the beta group. So the very first one that they did.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I paid money, and I went down to New York City, and I actually was part of the first group of, I think there was 11 of us in the group that did the 4Ds program.
That's cool.
Yeah, really cool to go down and be part. So I got to meet Gary, but the other thing that was incredible is I got to meet so many of his executives and team leaders that are incredible human beings. And so going down there, I got to learn a lot about how they're approaching building their own company, right? And having a successful, at that time, 800-person digital ads agency. And then also get to see like their approach to strategy within creative, and just their approach to creative, and their approach to platforms. And it was really something else. It was incredible.
Yeah, like from the videos you see, it looks like an extremely busy office.
It was interesting for me being there, because you see Gary on the internet, and you see the office and their team. Yeah. And being there was different, and in a really good way, but not different in the way where it felt like what you see online is disingenuous in any way. I think that it's a very accurate representation of them to some degree. But for example, the sound bites that we get of Gary on the internet often are way more vulgar. Like, I sat in a room with him for an hour and a half, and he swore, but not like what you see on the internet, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because in a moment of passion or a moment of like a rant, right, you get the more raw side of him, and he will curse if he wants to curse. And there's nothing, he's not going to hide that just because some people might not like it. He's going to be himself. But like when you see him in person, he is not that vulgar as what you would expect, right? And so it wasn't like every second word out of his mouth was a swear. Like, he's a super crazy, humble, down to earth guy. And what you see when he like stops and chats with people at the airport and stuff like that, and some of those moments that you hear him talk about and see, he is like that. Like I went and I talked to him, and I'm the only person in the room when I'm talking. He like listens and looks you straight in the eye and cares about what you have to say. It was really, really cool. And you know, there's always that fear when you meet someone that you look up to that like they're gonna ruin this image that you have of how great they are. His was the opposite. I grew in respect for him a great deal after meeting him, and I already had a lot of respect for him. He was somebody I looked up to. So
that's awesome. You must have been on like cloud nine like for days after that.
It was really cool. I think for me, the biggest thing that I walked away with was I felt really validated in many of the things that I hope to accomplish and approaches to things, right? I mean, when Facebook ads first came out, when Facebook pages first came out, I started Facebook pages for Bower Ponds. It was in our family at that time, but I was actually doing a network marketing company at the time, and I started a Facebook page for the company, and they were like, oh yeah, blah, blah. I remember, like, I'm like 18 and I'm like all pumped. This is 2008. And I'm just like, this is awesome. And they're like, they just didn't care. They like kind of rolled their eyes at me and they're like, what do you know? You're 18. And so, I mean, here I am 11, 12 years later, and I see, you know, it's every business has one. And like, you know, if you don't have one, people look at you and think you're crazy, instead of if you do have one, like it's totally flipped. And so it was cool to be there and know that like at that time there was other people in similar boats, right? And so sitting in a room where I was sitting in the room with owners of big businesses that were, you know, multi-million, like, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue a year, down to, you know, small businesses that are under $1 million a year. And so it was really cool to be in that room, see people that had common interests, common value, but also nobody felt like they were too good for you. Everyone, like I'm friends with most of the people that I went to that 4Ds group with on Facebook, and keep in touch with some of them. And we have great relationships still. So it was really cool to go and build that community. And I still feel like I'm part of it, which also helps, because you don't feel like you're on a high and then you come home and then you're, oh crap, but my life isn't like that. Like you actually get to continue building that in your day to day. So that was really cool.
Because I'm sure, I might be wrong, but I'm sure a lot of the other people in the room were from like big cities and.
Like, so we got there, and there was one of my buddies, Dane Carter, is a realtor, and he's from Long Beach, California. And so like, you know, and he's he deals with multi-million-dollar homes. So to some degree, he's almost the like stereotypical like California realtor, you know, that like probably only sells to famous people, you know, like he's just that guy, super successful, great guy. We got along really well. And so nice guy. And then, you know, the owners of Dutch Bros Coffee were in the room, and Dutch Bros Coffee is in the States a massive, I think they have over 300 locations along the West Coast. And they're, you know, coffee's almost like an American Tim Hortons, except totally different vibe. But like, it's like at that scale, right? Like if you were to compare them, right? Very big deal company, but like incredible. And they're from Portland, and you're like meeting, and yeah, big cities. I'm trying to think where else people are from. I think there was somebody there from Florida. There was definitely a couple that were closer to New York. But then one of the other guys in the room was from Edmonton, Alberta. Yeah, I was like, it was so sweet. I was like, no way, that's so funny. So yeah, really cool.
And you didn't know that until you sat in the room?
Yeah, until I sat in the room and we're going around saying where we're from, and I'm like, no way. Yes. That was awesome.
Do you still talk to that particular individual?
Yeah, I do. So we haven't. He actually moved to BC now, so I don't see him as often. But yeah, we still keep in touch though. Probably chat every 2-3 months.
Nice, man.
Mm-hmm.
So like coming up, is it just kind of like a period of consolidation, you know, on all your projects that you got going on?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I've kind of built, so we're seasonal with a lot of what I'm doing, obviously, and so it's interesting how it kind of works. It's really easy in a seasonal business, I'd say, for people to go really hard and then they basically burn out. The end of their season, they just like crash, and it takes them a month or 2 months or 3 months to kind of pick up the pieces and just get caught up, and then they can kind of start the cycle for the next season. But within that, it can be tougher to get ahead. So we've kind of built up a little bit more of a pattern where we're working 6 months to a year ahead. And that's not perfect. I'm behind that target right now, but that's kind of the goal, right? So I'm already working on stuff that'll impact our winter season. Now, right now, stuff I'm was working on yesterday, for example, will come into play in October. So I'm a couple months ahead, but we're always in that phase. And so there's things that are operational that have to be done today. Things are on fire. I get a phone call because we ran out of something or something's broke or, issues that can come up in business. So then I'm going and attending to those things. And that's something that is happening right now. But I always try and be in that spot where I'm looking forward and know where we're going to be in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then coming back to this moment and going, what needs to be done in what order, prioritizing those projects, right? So as the season ends, I just came off of, I had a week away or 5 days away to go visit some friends to try and recoup because it is so busy and I don't want to hit that burnout point. And so we're in a spot now where as we're closing up, it's weird because yes, there's a little bit more rest and some projects that have now, we launched them in the spring, we've tested them, we kind of are finalizing them, tweaking them, and they're in a good spot moving forward. And then there's other things that we're just getting started on, new projects that you guys, one of the things I've had 2 meetings over the last 2 weeks about, and will continue on, nobody will see come to fruition until the earliest May next year, and it might be later than that. There's stuff that I've been working on for a year to 18 months that still isn't done, that the public may not see. This project I'm thinking about is more internal operational management, but projects are so long-term and ongoing that it's not quite as simple as just following my seasonal day-to-day. My team, I have some supervisors and a couple of them work on business development with me. So when they're working on business development, then they're also busy in those off season. But some of my frontline team members that are actually in the kitchens cooking and that are working on the docks with paddle boats or on the food trucks, their season definitely fluctuates. And so they're coming into a slower season. Think of Westerner days and some of our big events with food trucks, our staff are flat out and they'll be, working extra 20-30% more hours than they normally would, where now they might be 5 or 6% less hours than they normally would because it rains and it's slower and we don't need as many people. So some of them are calmed down, and then also for hours. And then we have students that go to school, so they're on their way out. They're in their last week, 2-3 weeks here. So it's a weird season because I'm already sitting there thinking about winter season and next summer season and planning for it. And but we're still in this summer season, and so it's sometimes that's a weird disconnect because I'm living in a different world than my current reality, trying to prepare for it.
Nice, dude. Nice. Love it. So anything you want to ask me while we're talking?
Yeah, I do have questions for you. Okay. First thing. Okay. When I say football, do you think soccer or do you think American football first? Or where do you go?
Well, it's me and Josh were talking about this on the last episode. This funny. So football. So what you would consider soccer? Yes.
Okay. So you're right. Okay. I just wanted to check. I mean, my head goes naturally to the weird sport we play where we throw a ball in the air, but I go there first. But I actually think it's ridiculous that we call it. I think they're odd. I don't get it.
Good.
Okay.
I'm now gonna start. I'm gonna start a different page. Canadians who agree with me that it's football, not soccer.
There'll be 3 of us, Mike.
Can be the first 2 members.
I'm glad we can be part of it. That's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Second really important question. You have $250,000 to launch your dream forward. What are you doing today that would stay the same? And what are you doing today that would change tomorrow?
Oh, good question. I think the thing that stayed the same would be kind of patience and trying to build meaningful relationships with, I guess, fans of Tea with Mike and this community that I'm trying to build, because this is my biggest project, as you can see right now. So that's definitely gonna I would definitely stay the same because that's how everybody wins in the long term.
Okay.
Well, if I got $250,000, a lot of it going to like operational behind the scenes, spice up the camera angles, maybe take with someone so you can get better at the creativity of the videos, right? Because that takes a whole different mindset to get creative with the videos and recording and checking you got the right equipment.
Totally.
And then of course like advertising to like accelerate the dream. So that's probably what I'd do with $250,000.
That's awesome. There you go. Camera equipment and creative support. You'd go a long way with $250,000. Good stuff.
Yes, you could.
Very cool. Very cool. And third question. All right, enough with this tea nonsense. What is your favorite coffee?
What's my favorite coffee? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee.
Ever. Right, you asked me what my favorite tea is, and I never drink tea.
Just because I have a show called Tea with Mike, and I'm not going to lie, I have never ever, it's a true fact, have drank a cup of coffee in my entire life.
You've never drank a single cup of coffee?
No. When I'm at work and we go to Starbucks and I buy from my coworker and they get coffee, I get tea.
Okay.
We put them down in the office and we go do our thing and we come back and I pick up the wrong water and start drinking theirs. I literally have like kickbacks. Yeah.
I'm going to start a show and it's going to be called Coffee with Jonathan. And you're going to have to come onto the show and I get to pick what coffee you drink and you have to finish the cup during the interview.
That's a
and
deal.
You can be my guest.
Yeah, I'll do that. It's a one episode only show.
It's a 1 episode series. It's a mini series, very mini, and it features one guest, Michael.
We could do
from
it live at
Mike.
Mile Pond.
Hey, there we go. We could. So nice down here. Yeah.
It's very peaceful.
Yeah, no, it's very nice down here. So the water is moving, so it's windy, but the trees aren't moving too bad. So it's just a subtle breeze. Yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been a pleasure being on your show, and it's been fun to watch the process from, your first episode launching to now, and some of the guests you've had are incredible, and so very cool to see, and I wish you all the best and hope to see you continue this, and then I'll come back on when you're at like episode like 300 or something like that, and we'll jam again.
Oh, and see how I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so, I'm sure it'll be great. I just mean, people will get bored if I'm on here too often, so it's got to be a minimum of so many episodes.
So right now, this is legit true because I actually have been talking to him, and he's all verified on Twitter, blah blah blah. And it's been an actual conversation, so I know it's not a scam. I'm actually talking right now with Daniel Newham.
Okay.
He's a Walking Dead actor.
A Walking Dead actor?
On The Walking Dead.
Oh. You mean from the show? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I get it.
For the show Walking Dead.
Cool.
Yeah?
Yeah?
He's got like 500,000 followers, and he wants to be on the show.
Cool. Dude, that's awesome. Have you been grinding it out and like sending invites out in the DM to like everybody you possibly would like on the show?
No, but I should.
Yeah, why aren't you doing that? That sounds ridiculous. You need to go right now. Spend the next hour. I know you have something on at 3:00, but until then, you need to DM every single human that you would want to interview on Twitter and be like, "Will you be on my show?"
Let's see what happens.
Well, no, not to see what happens. Until you get what happens, you find a sweet person, more people with 500,000 followers, and then you befriend them, and then we can then invite them to be on my show, Coffee with Jonathan.
Nice. And then the other person who's coming on the show, I got lots of people, but no, just another one quickly is Parker Thompson.
That name sounds super familiar.
He's a racing car driver.
Cool.
And you might hear him on the radio about how he's a racing driver and he has all the proper equipment and team to so that he can perform at high speeds, but you shouldn't text and drive, right? Because you don't have the same resource. It's drive to stay alive.
Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah, so I might get creative on that one and see if I can do tea with Mike live from his racing car.
There you go. Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for being on the show.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
Appreciate
Hopefully
it.
we'll chat soon. Take care.
Sounds good, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.